without further ado, I'm going to explain who I am. Hi, my name is Dua Mutarika. I am going to be your MC for today. Um, as soon as I got off the plane and Miss Kia started talking about this event, I was already trying to concoct a way that I would get involved. So I was like, so what's happening there? And she was like, she told me, and I was like, I MC. And so it was, I don't even know how long I've been in the country. I was like, I have to be part of it. It sounded like such an amazing opportunity. I am an executive and business consultant and coach. I've done this for the past 11 years, although I had a 3-year break where I was the Vice Consul of Tourism and Trade for the Malawi High Commission in South Africa. And so I have a strong business background, but then also a travel background. We were dealing with about 5 different countries in South Africa. And I chose to stay in South Africa after my contract ended and finish raising my daughter there. She's taking a gap year. She's here with me. And I knew it was time for me to leave South Africa after 10 years. But I didn't know where I was going. I kept hearing about this Kenya thing, and I've been in Kenya many years because I was born and partially raised in Ethiopia, so we'd come here for medical. A lot of my family has passed through Kenya. All of my siblings but me went through school here. My one sister went to Nairobi Primary in the 60s, 70s. My brother and sister both went to Rift Valley Academy. And so I knew Kenya was it. But I was like, but how in the heck am I going to do this? When I moved to South Africa, it was with a small child in tow, and it was tough. It was tough. And I did everything on my own. And I was like, I do not have capacity to do this again. I need to understand where I'm going. What are the opportunities? What can I do? Where can I live? How do I bring my puppy? All of these things. So who is going to do this for me? So I had a couple of weeks of prayer, and I don't know how Travis pops up on my feed. And I was like, So I sent them a message, and I was like, I know most of your clients are from US, but would you be willing to relocate somebody from South Africa? And they were like, sure. So we met and we talked. There were a couple of false starts as I got myself together. And as they say, well, the rest is history because here I am. So why Traverse? Why was I excited about this? Number one, Miss Kia always says they're boutique service. I look at them as more of a concierge type service because it's about a whole. When you're looking at relocation, a lot of the times, and why I chose Traverse is sometimes it's about I've got you here, now you're on your own, But you're going to want to know which supermarket's good. I've sent them messages saying, I'm about to order rice. Which one? You know what I mean? Where do I go for a medical thing? My daughter actually had some medical services she had to do in an emergency. And I was able to call and get her in and, all the things that you worry about. After living in South Africa, I had my network of people. So to come here and start rebuilding a network is important. And just to know there's somebody to talk to, because it wasn't one of those things, transactional, like, okay, we've done with you now, you've relocated, be gone. Obviously not, because here I am, right? 8 months later, I'm here telling you my story. So that's what I liked. I liked the way it was very comprehensive, and it wasn't just looking at where do you live or where are you going to work. It was immigration was everything all in one. So that's why I'm here, and I thought it was. I just wanted to relay that to you and say that was why it was important to do that. Don't make some of the mistakes I made. I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. I made some mistakes, like thinking I was going to bring all of my stuff and then come in here and be like, sell it all. So get that out of your system. Trust me, you'll find what you need here. And then, one of the things that Travis offers that I would say to take advantage of is how you can come and you can do an investigative tour. I made the mistake of just rocking up. And it wasn't a mistake because I'm still here and I'm fine. But I really look and I'm like, I could have done this a little bit differently. And they did say, so are you gonna come and go back? And I was like, no, I'm coming with everybody. And they were like, okay. And now I know what the okay was about, because it's like, that's a lot. It is a lot. Be patient with yourself. You're not gonna get it all at once, but you'll get there. Be patient, be open, be willing, and then you'll find Kenya Karibu is a welcoming place. This is an awesome country to live in. It's on the cusp of so much, and it always has been. Kenya, especially Nairobi, has always been a very vibrant place to live. But more so now, so much investments coming in here, so many ideas are being shared. Remember, Kenya is where something like M-Pesa came from. And many of you may not know, but M-Pesa surpasses PayPal. So they surpass PayPal in the amount of commerce and stuff that they do every day. This is a place of innovation. Grab hold to that. And if you don't want the innovation and you just want to relax, there's the coast. So, you can go, there's so many things. You can get a nice farm, grow macadamias, whatever it is you want to do, whatever, you want coast, you want farm, you want city, Kenya can do that for you. So that's just a little bit of my story. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Kia.
Thank you so very much. They say that in Korea. So I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us today. I definitely want to thank our distinguished guest who traveled all the way from the United States of America. Give them a round of applause. That's not an easy task to do when you see someone on the internet telling you to come to Kenya for the first time, right? And trust them to make sure that we'll be able to take care of you and that your money is going to stretch, right? So I want to thank you, ladies, for joining us here in Kenya. I also want to thank all of our attendees today for joining us. I know it's been a journey with us promoting this initiative, the Journey Back to Eden, and getting people to kind of understand what this means and also participate in it. So I want to thank you personally for myself and the Traverse Culture team for attending today. All of our partners, we got some of our heavy hitter partners up in here today. Thank you for joining. They will be speaking and give you some information about how some of the products that we do service you all with and how it does implement in the JBE, but how it also impact the local Kenyan market as well. So I'm super proud to have our partners. Thank you for being here with us and representing. I started the brand called Worldviews with a co-founder. And the whole idea of Worldviews was to showcase the contributions of African people globally and also share travel with people who look like me that often don't see themselves internationally. And I figured if I am a little girl from Charleston, South Carolina, who wasn't supposed to make it, I was born in the crack era, 1982. This is real. That entire generation wasn't supposed to make it. I ain't supposed to be here. I ain't supposed to be here, but I'm here. And I'm saying if I could do it, then I need to share this with somebody else who look like me, who don't think that they can do it. And that's how Worldviews, oh yes, thank you, yes. That's how Worldviews came about. I want to get into when we created Worldviews, but before then, I started coming back to Kenya, or coming to Kenya in 2011, 14 years ago. This is when Kibaki was president. This was the shilling with 88 to the dollar. This is when Nakumatt was all of the stores that you would go to, right? If anybody know about Bob's Place in Nyali, that's what Bob's Place in Mombasa was popping, all right? So I've been coming here for quite some time. And when I landed at Moi International Airport, I said, oh my God, we have been bamboozled, hoodwinked, and lied to. These people living better than us. Huh? And as soon as I landed in Kenya, Karibu Kenya, Karibuni Kenya, is the spirit that you get when you land here. And they automatically think you Kenyan. I have to beg my Kenyan cousins and tell them, no, I'm like 15 generations African American. I'm not Kenyan. But what's so funny, in 2011, I landed here. In 2019, my family did our DNA, and we came back 27.7% Kenyan and of the Lua tribe. Give a round of applause for that. The journey back to Eden. How did we get here? In 2019, Ghana did the year return. And I was super impressed with how they were able to promote Ghana, which essentially promoted the entire continent. You know, there's 54 countries on the continent, right? So the JBE started for me in 2020. We did a virtual summit through COVID, actually, with the embassy in DC, the Kenyan embassy in DC. And then in 2023, 2024, we did what we call was the call to action right here at the Holiday Inn across the street. And it was a success. But during that time, I also figured I gotta permanently move to Kenya so we can make this make sense. Because every time I go back to the US, I'm losing momentum. You know, things ain't working out the way I envisioned it. I got to make the commitment to permanently move here. I have to invest in my relocation to Kenya, and that's what we did. So in 2024, we prepared for my relocation to move to Kenya, and I finally made that move after my son graduated. I told him, hey, you know, I'm moving to Kenya. He said, I already knew that. Why are you telling me that? Duh. You know, he already knew it. It wasn't a surprise. But landed here, and we got busy. I said, you know what? We're going to continue this journey for the journey back to Eden, and my team said, let's do it. But I would not be here without my Kenyan counterparts. I gotta give these incredible people their flowers now. First thing, when I started Worldviews, I knew that there was a vision that I wanted to complete. But I knew that I had to implement my Kenyan counterparts. Now I gotta give this lady her flowers. Miss Mora. She deserved it. She has been, I always say this to her, now she says it, she dubs it, I'm your ride or die. She is. When I first started with Worldviews, I met her. She's the queen of Kibera, by the way. This is how I met her. I met her through someone else, and they say, you got to meet the queen of Kibera. I said, what the heck is a queen of Kibera? I met her, and I wanted to do tours to Kibera, but I did not want it to be poverty, you know, extraction and, you know, the usuals that we see the Mzungus do. I didn't want to do that. And I sat down with this young lady in Bidwood Suites, and she told me to my face, now I work with you, but what you ain't gonna do is come and try to extort us, make us look bad as a community. I'm not gonna have it. I work with you, but I'm not gonna have that. I said, okay, I like her. She don't play. And we consulted her for the first trip. We did a government trip with her. We did a big group. Then we did a government trip with her. We brought the government of Mecklenburg County and Charlotte, North Carolina, actually to Kenya to do a global wealth exchange with Nairobi City. Never been done. And she was one of the ladies who came on board that we consulted. After that, we had our little Worldview shirt, right? She came up to me, she said, when am I gonna get my Worldview shirt and work with you? I said, just wait till I expand. I gotta be able to pay you now. Hold on, let me expand. And I brought her on 2019, yes? So she has been an instrumental part of Traverse Culture and Worldviews. Most of the people you see here, she has vetted and brought them on board. And so give a round of applause for Miss Mora Melvin.
My name is Mora. She's already given my whole story. I don't know what to say. But I'm grateful that you're here. Karibu, Kenya. We love you, and I would like to kidnap you to stay, even more than your 14 days in Kenya. So Karibu, Kenya. Feel at home, and we love you. And to my Kenyans, asante sana for coming.
Really quick, I know I'm short for time. Miss Sharon E. came on board as our HR 4 years ago. Miss Terry came on board as our PA and concierge specialist 3.5 years ago. Miss Maria is new. She's been with us for 4 months, I believe, now. And Mr. Gas has been with us for 13 months now. So thank you so very much to the team. Thank you. So, the JBE, what does the JBE mean? We saw what Ghana did, and we saw the year return, and we saw how many people were able to come through the year return, and we saw some benefits to that. What we didn't see is the actual system being able to be documented and collect the data so we actually understand how we're implementing certain things, how we're impacting the economy, how we're impacting local Kenyans, as well as beneficial to us from the diaspora. And so what the JBE essentially is a tool for us to collaborate together as the diaspora, be able to focus on relationship building, because I like to call my Kenyan cousins because we keep saying that it's a 400-year distance. It's been at least 700 years. At least 700 years. We've been saying that since Malcolm X. Malcolm X said 400 years in the 60s. So we're looking at least 700 years of a disconnect. And what does that mean? I don't think that the year return was able to capture it as well as we would want to, but this is why we're doing the Journey Back to Eden, to just build on what they already built. We're standing on the backs of our ancestors anyway. But one of the things that I was concerned about is, and what we typically see that people argue online, is our differences. But what we don't realize is the differences is the wealth. It's the knowledge. It's the data. We can leverage the differences. That's the whole point of this. And as you all know, I'm passionate as hell about this. I put my life, sweat, tears into this. I left my home, my son, my family. I believe in us. I know that we can do this. And I'm so proud to also be African American, but also be of the African diaspora, to also be a part of the Kenyan community, to also be a part of a group of people who we know that we're destined to make it now, not tomorrow. They say turn the other cheek. Wait till you're dead and gone to get what you're getting. No, we can get it now. And that is what the JBE represents right here, right now. And you have invested in the JBE by being here today and understanding that it's a long goal. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. It's a marathon because not everybody going to catch on. Not everybody going to catch on. There's going to be a lot of people who are confused, a lot of people who don't see the vision, a lot of people don't believe in ourselves. There's self-hate among us. But it takes us to be able to communicate what it is that the end goal is going to be, to build relationships among each other, right? Talk about the differences. Have the hard conversations, because there are stereotypes. There is tension. Let's keep it real. There is tension. We have to discuss that. But let's start with relationship building, and that's what the JBE is. I'm going to quit. I'm going to be quiet for right now. But what I want to say is Asante Sana, or Asanteni Sana, for joining us here today for the JBE 2026. We're going to take this thing to the moon and above, and the time is now. Thank you.
I'm proud to collaborate with the JBE initiative around this topic, and specifically looking closely at how those of us who already live in Africa can work with those in diaspora as a shared culture of prosperity, and using the resources that we both have within and without to build ourselves and secure our futures. So the retirees portfolio playbook, specifically looking at risk, income, and longevity, is not designed to just track the end of your life in a different location within the diaspora, but to integrate you already within the system that is available here to start investing and even making decisions about where you want to retire, because these are decisions people in diaspora, I think, battle with. And the key gap we look at is, how does somebody gradually across stages of life already plan for their retirement in a way that is safe? Because retirement is more than
keeping resources somewhere, saving money, buying property, it's also emotional. Where do you really want to be integrated? And that comes also with your identity. The language you have to now maybe adopt based on where you want to, and the community you want to belong into. And so when we look at the quantitative side of retirement, when we're looking at money to secure how we live after that, I think sometimes the solutions we offer disconnect from the qualitative side, which is the emotional side of retiring and securing yourself. So that's really the main concept around this. And from a diaspora perspective, it's really a look at how does retirement for somebody who's already in the diaspora translate into rest, translate into belonging in that community? Because you may really have to redefine your identity alongside the resources you have and the lifestyle you want to live. How does that work? And I like the JBE forum because this is exactly what we bring to the table in terms of working or looking at the retiree's journey to address the financial anxiety that comes with that journey. And not because you did not sometimes secure enough, save enough, work so hard, but how does your portfolio give you safety going forward? And this is because I've worked with some retirees, and in my financial background, I've met individuals who've honestly worked very hard, and they were confident at retirement stage, and they had property. And even within this forum we're sitting, JBE has partnered with property developers, healthcare system providers, leisure-related and cultural-related companies that can make your integration very smooth and flexible for you. But then, when they retired, these individuals had worked in the UK for about 30 years, and they had done their portfolio so well. But then the dynamics within the context of Kenya changed everything. A lot of their investment was really in the property context, and so liquidity became a challenge. 2 years later, and when liquidity becomes a challenge, then how do you meet your daily living expenses? Because you need cash immediately. And it's not that you don't have money, it's there. You can see what you worked so hard out there to build. But then it's a misalignment between the realities of the context in which you're going to be integrated as a retiree and the resources you have, be it savings, be it cash reserves, and the properties you have. And it is often what I think some of the solutions we have are really misunderstood when we are looking at integrating retirees. And in an effort now to look at how do we help a retiree beyond just market volatility like inflation, but look at their portfolio in a way that speaks to their lifestyle as well, and look at the risk that also accompanies their portfolio so that they don't have to either sell assets prematurely because then they are facing a liquidity and the market is not favorable to them. And also look at related lifestyle aspects of their life, healthcare systems, because you're moving from one location to a different location. How will you navigate, and the cost that is also involved in healthcare? The cost of healthcare is rising. The systems are transforming. And also your investments, also the investment landscape is also changing significantly with the information age. There are digital solutions, there are digital platforms that can also enable you to already start securing your investment. And this is why, in partnership or in collaboration with JBE Forum, then we look at retirement must be reframed to look more at effective collaboration between diaspora, including diaspora who are originally from their individual countries because they're coming back to familiar land, but there's still an integration journey of investment, and diaspora who are outside and actually love Kenya. It's a beautiful country, and you want to come and live in this beautiful place in other African countries. And so we've proposed a 5-factor framework that looks at what can we really carefully look at from a financial perspective. And in this class, I'll take you through the 5 factors of the JBE's portfolio framework that we are proposing for a retiree. And this is mainly focused on looking how do you secure somewhere to stand, because you're landing somewhere when you choose your retirement location. Whether it is me leaving Nairobi to go to, I come from the western part of Kenya, to Vihiga, I'll have to be integrated still. And whether it is somebody from the US coming to Kenya, then you'll need to know how to navigate the Kenyan landscape. And so the 5 pillars are, first of all, looking at safety. How do you land safely within your preferred retirement location? The second item is the income to live well, because we all have different lifestyles, and that means our portfolio will be organized differently. But what's your definition of living well when this solution is being offered? There's no one-size-fits solution. The third item is liquidity to stay in control of your portfolio and your expenditures. Because the example I gave of this couple that found their money all tied up in investments, and it doesn't mean they don't have money, but they can't access it. That means quality of life is immediately impacted, and that can be detrimental to a retiree. And then longevity to last. Longevity is a big part of your retirement plan, and that translates directly into also the legacy you want to build. I've worked in impact sectors, and I've worked with impact investors who are very keen on what legacy do you want to leave, what intergenerational wealth or what intergenerational impact do you want to create based on what you built as a portfolio. And that becomes a very critical question when you're working with retirees who now are thinking, this is my last stroke to creating an impact, and how I use it is important. And a good example is a retiree from the US who had built a very good hotel in Naivasha. He relocated. It's a very good facility, very impressive. So a reflection of good hard work and critical investment. But then illness came in. When they retired, they were running the business by themselves. That was for about 17 years they had been involved in the business. But as age advanced, they hadn't worked carefully around a succession plan and governance-related issues. So this is your whole life's saving, and now illness has stuck in. You don't have a transition plan, and chances are high, if that is not arrested, then that business is likely to collapse. That's a very tragic moment to be experiencing with a retiree who's built such a facility. And that is what the JBE Portfolio Playbook aims to now work with you. No one-size-fits solution. As I said, behavior is involved. So there's a science behind your money decisions that is specific to you. Thank you.
By the way, I love the way you talked about risk without talking about risk. Because most of the time when we hear risk management, we're like, oh, she's going to give us a bunch of numbers. But it was really good, because what she's basically talking about is we know there's no 100% security in life. And like she said, that couple has spent 17 years building their security only for something unforeseen as illness, to wipe out what they thought they were going to do. And another thing I'd like to say is sustainability is such a big thing in terms of what happens when I can't do this business anymore, but I still need the income. I think that's so important. And the final thing I'll leave you with, when she was speaking and she was talking about when somebody passes on and what happens with the family wrangle. Yes. So I have seen that. So yeah, it becomes really hectic. Everybody's fighting over things. So thinking about some of these things and planning ahead really does a lot about your safety. Well, thank you so much. So now we are going to do our second masterclass. And this is your health, your heritage, rediscovering Africa as a global wellness, medical tourism, and healing destination. And that's going to be from Dr. Rubin Okioma. And I just wanted to let you know that Dr. Rubin is a general surgeon, intensivist. Is that how you say it? Intensivist? Okay, who's going to tell us about that? And head of ICU, which I've been in your ICU many times since I arrived, and acting medical director of the Nairobi Hospital. Just to give you a little bit of background about Nairobi Hospital, it's the major private facility for for Kenya and East Africa. When my parents were diplomats and we lived in Ethiopia, we used to come for medical at Nairobi Hospital many years ago. I'm not going to age myself there. Yeah, it has an emphasis on high tech with over 400 hospitals. And one of the things that's nice, and it is a major partner with Traverse, by the way. And one of the things that is nice is it does have a lot of outpatient facilities. So for like myself and my daughter, we've been to the outpatient, we stay here in Two Rivers, we've been to the outpatient facility just, I don't know, what is it, 600 meters away at Roslyn Riviera. And you get very good treatment. And most of the time they can, I would say 80% of the time they're able to treat us there. It's only if it's something, because it's an outpatient facility, very modern, amazing looking. It's only if it's something major, like an MRI or something, then you have to go to the main hospital. And in the main hospital, you see it's a web of buildings because they have specialist surgeons. They're known for their complex surgeries. I would say the first place when you know something has to be done, that should be your first port of call. Go to Nairobi Hospital. And then from there, if you need second, third opinions, you can find people. But start there. Because when you start there, 9 times out of 10, you will find who you need. Yeah. Without any further ado, Dr. Ruben, sorry.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon all. Very pleased to be here, and I must say that Kia has been quite pushy. And I do believe that the ideas that Kia has, it's really a game changer in this country. I've interacted with you for more than a year, probably 2 now. And I do believe that for an idea as good as this, it needs to be owned. We do know medical tourism is growing and growing quite fast globally. It's $1 billion business as we speak. And there's something that medical tourists seek. One is, of course, cost. Cost is always the bottom line. If I'm going to move across continents and the cost isn't making sense, then I would rather stay where I am, because movement also comes with its own challenges. The other big issue is waiting times. We do know there are jurisdictions where the waiting time is quite wrong. And just for simple procedures, especially the surgical procedures, in some countries you wait up to 6 months. In this country, you can book in a surgery today, tomorrow you're in and done. So that's quite unique to our health system. Of course, there's the issue of services that are not available in particular areas. And as a medical hub, Nairobi receives most patients from the region because of the advanced healthcare. We have a fairly advanced healthcare, and in comparison to our neighbors, we are probably 10, 15 years ahead if we look at also where we have come from. That's in terms of the specialists, in terms of the medical technology, and also processes, which is also something we can't forget. Processes here is basically what quality systems do we have in place. Of course, the other issue of bundled logistics, very key. We do know Kenya has one of the largest service industry when it comes to tourism. And here I'm talking about not medical tourism, but just a little tourism, the safaris, as we know. Accommodation, the issue of visas, and you do know politically we have a lot of support in terms of being less and less stringent on visas. So there are a mix of push and pull factors, may not go into the details. However, looking at high volume medical value travel segments, I'm not sure why the slides are not moving. I'm probably on slide 4. There is a lot on the fertility, cosmetic, reconstructive, cardiac and cancer care area. And I'm looking at fertility because that is the area where we are now finding lots and lots of inquiries. We do know as a country, surrogacy is still not well defined in terms of laws, but it's not banned in this country. Let me say that. Two, we do know that our legislature, that's our parliament, they are actually enacting laws to support surrogacy. As a hospital, we've supported persons who have had, what you call private agreements when it comes to surrogacy, and they have gone through the processes really quite well, because we do know what the law as it is now provides for, and we are able to support patients in that manner. We have established in our facility dedicated offices for tourism. In fact, our website is being redesigned to support medical tourism specifically. I'm pleased to have my biggest supporter in terms of medical tourism in the house, Dr. Omina. You can just wait. If you have, if you have any inquiries, which may also relate to cost, duration of stay, linking up to the right doctor, he is our link person. But we do have a medical tourism officer as well who was not able to make it. And this is because we have seen and value medical tourism as a hospital. Looking at the other major destinations, and we are learning from them, let me say, because we may be catching up. We have our own unique offering. But looking at Turkey, for example, looking at Dubai, which is also coming up, looking at India, Thailand, and Singapore, each has its own unique offering. And later on, you'll see what makes our country probably even more favorable than all these countries. I may say I'm also privileged to take care of an elderly couple. They're in their 80s. She happens to have dementia. He is okay, a bit of, aches and pains here and there, but he survived cancer 4 times, so he's a survivor. But he relocated fully from Denmark about 9 years ago, and he's not moved. And he does still move within the country. For example, when it becomes very cold in Nairobi, he moves to Kilifi. So, in addition to the international medical tourism, we do also have the internal tourism, which is not only pushed by weather, but also by the need, as we said, for services. So each of these countries has its own unique offering. I will not belabor that, but what is important for me is really Africa. Why is Africa rising now as a medical tourism destination? One is we know the expansion of private tertiary hospitals. It's at its peak. You must know that other than the indigenous investment in tertiary hospitals, there's a lot of influx of funding. We have a financial expert here. There's a lot of influx of financial funding from, for example, the Middle East. And these are, entering the market through what I would call established hospitals to just build up their capacity. That's in terms of equipment and also the capital, human capital. If I look at cancer, for example, we now have about 6 PET scans in the country. If you compare that with the region, it's really ways or miles ahead. And most of this has come because of this additional investment. The other issue, of course, is quality and the fact that we are becoming more and more internationally recognized when it comes to quality. Because other than the cost, probably the second most important thing a medical tourist will look for is quality. You do not want to have botched surgery. I've watched a lot of that on, yes, and then especially when it's cosmetic surgery, nose jobs and all that. And you know what it entails in terms of not only the financial impact, but also the emotional impact. It's very competitive. just the other day I was looking at what is the cost of cesarean section, an elective cesarean section here in Kenya, vis-a-vis in the US. And I factored in the cost of travel, let's say a month before. You stay here a month, then deliver, then 2 months later. So maximum 3 months. It's still cheaper. So the accommodation, everything, it's still cheaper. So basically it means we are competitive in terms of the pricing, and that it's not only in the cost of the medical, but the support in terms of getting a place to stay within Nairobi and the other support that you need. Our Kenya Medical Practitioner Dentist Council is very, very aggressive in terms of reviewing complaints from patients. They summon us as a hospital, they summon doctors, you are taken through a tribunal, and their verdict is usually quite severe. It's both financial and also impacts on licensing and also the ability to practice. So that's important, and it's something we must look at. Of course, the other issue which has also been in the news not long ago is transplant tourism and organ trafficking. I'm sure you've heard of the kidney transplant issues, which related also to visiting doctors and mostly in Eldoret. And maybe to add to this, which is also becoming a big concern, is the medical tourism related to athletes who are intending or who want to pursue what we call enhancement drugs, which is illegal. And we do know that this is also an area which we must address, because yes, it would be very nice for athletes to come and train in these areas, which of course we know produce world-class athletes, mostly from E10 in Eldoret. But the aspect that comes with it of an illegal undertaking is something we must consider. So I do know as a country we have also relooked, or we are relooking at the aspect of transplantation and putting in more measures to safeguard organ trafficking. I know there is a committee that has been set up by our Ministry of Health, of course, with the express instructions from the President. And we do know that soon we are going to have clear laws to protect the local population from, of course, exploitation. So the main takeaways of course, is trust patient experience and not price alone will be the game changer. We do know that as a country we have very credible anchors, whether it's accredited hospitals or vision partnerships. We know we have the fastest path when it comes to regional patients, and the safety governance is quite good. And then the aspect of equity, safety, and strong transplant oversight is very key. And when we were talking about sustainability from a financial point of view, I was looking out also at sustainability when it comes to medical tourism. And those are the areas that I felt really we have to consider, the profits, the social aspect, and also the longevity of such an undertaking. So I'll end it at that point. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was not boring, but the bottom line is you're welcome to Kenya. You're welcome to the Nairobi Hospital as your preferred medical provider. Thank you.
Get this.
Good afternoon. That's a greeting. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, let's bring in the energy. It's the season for the energy. I just want us to take a minute and I want you to listen to yourself. just pay attention to what's going on right now. What are you feeling? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? If you were to do an emoji for your mood right now, what would it be? So it's always very, very important that you pay attention to yourself. I always say, let me ask you this other question. How many of us here are drivers? You drive a car. Almost everyone in this room, isn't it? What makes you stop at every gas station and even open the bonnet, even when the dash lights are not showing that your battery is okay, there are no red, flashing lights? Why do you always stop at the gas station to check? In Kenya, we don't even get out of the car because there's a petrol station attendant. You just roll down your window and you're like, could you also check for me the water and everything? And then I drive to where the tire pressure is. Yeah, that's how cool Kenya is. And then I drive to where the pressure tire is, and I'm still seated, and they ask, how much? 35, and I'm still seated, and I'm just looking to see that the machine actually does 35. Why do we do that? Religiously without fail. Why do you do that? Is it out of habit? Or is it out of necessity? You just need to be sure, isn't it? If you were taking a long road trip, the last thing you want to do with your car is pass by your mechanic for a quick check. You just need to be sure. And the question is, how many of us this morning did the quick check? The check-in. How you're feeling, how you're doing, what your body is communicating. Because it sends a message. But sometimes, do we know what that message is? Do we even pay attention? I was having a conversation with Salome, and I was saying one of the challenges we have when it comes to mental health is that people are not quick to go do a check-in because you're not physically in pain. But if you woke up and you had a toothache, you will be waiting for the dentist to open so that you're the first one on the queue. But how often do we check ourselves and do that check-in? So what is that tiredness communicating? Is it because you are physically actually tired? Or is it a sign of lethargy? Is it being fatigued? Is it a burnout setting in? What exactly is it? We're talking about Journey Back to Eden. I love this one. Journey Back to Eden. What does this mean? We're talking about unpacking our suitcases. What does that mean? So when we talk about Journey Back to Eden, for those of us who come from the Bible or whatever faith community, what does that mean? What do you visualize? How does Eden look like? Is it a cluttered space, dirty, dumping site, kind of, an environment, very filthy? What does it look like, this place where the air is crisp, clean water, beautiful streams with beautiful flowers, isn't it? Very well manicured, garden. So then the question again is, where are you at on your journey back to Eden? It's a metaphor, basically, and we are talking about it's the return to the space and the place of peace and calmness, wholeness. It's about holistic wellness. It's about internal balance. We are not talking about work-life balance. We're talking about integration. What is happening emotionally, psychologically, physically, spiritually, socially, everything about you.
That's what we are talking about this morning. It's about navigating the different stages and phases that you're going through in life to ensure that you get back to the state of holistic wellness. And then when we talk about these silent suitcases, we're talking about this journey where we need to look at what is it that we are carrying in our suitcases? What's there? We need to learn to travel light. And traveling light, it's not just that backpack that we need to unpack. It's also asking, what is in my backpack? I know I'm a hiker and we carry backpacks. And I have learned over time, I'm still learning to travel light. Because when I started hiking, I would carry snacks enough for the entire group that is on the trail. And I learned I would carry all this water. You know, I have my 3 liters of water. I have a flask with some hot coffee or something. And I still have some juice and something. And I ended up going back home with half everything that I have carried, if not given out half. And then I would always make sure anytime I get to a summit, I carry a stone because I want to come and color it, and label it and put it somewhere that will remind me that I went to that summit. Until I realized, by the way, I don't need to carry all these stones because it is not about the stone. It is about the memory. Even if I get to a summit and I don't do a summit photo, does it mean I never summited? You still did, isn't it? So the question is, what is in your bag now? What are you carrying? As we think about the silent suitcase, we look at it from 3 contexts. We have the content, we have the container, and we have the journey. And because we are talking about the silent suitcases, what is in the content? The unresolved childhood, trauma, grief, bullying, anything that you can think about. So on your journey to who you are today, you probably met a mean teacher. They said something and they put a stone or a piece of something in your backpack. You met a neighbor who said something nasty. You had a parent who was very, unsupportive, did something, a sibling, anyone, a colleague. And all these things are actually stones that we keep putting and adding into our backpack. Is it a surprise that today we are walking with a hunch? The old receipts, the ladies who have their hairs braided, but they have a comb in their handbag. Like, how many lipstick do you need in a day? And I'm sure if we check our handbags, there's a lip balm, there's a pink lipstick, there's a red one, and I don't know what else, and they are all there. Like for the gentlemen, how many pens do you need in that laptop bag? How many diaries do you need to be carrying and notebooks do you need to be carrying? Even when we've gone tech, that I actually don't literally need to have a diary today because my Google Calendar works perfect for me, better than that diary. But we still are the old school people who are like, let me scribble, something. And then you still have in your house a diary for 2002. Like, really? What are we carrying? The unlimiting belief systems is part of the content. You don't believe in yourself just because someone somewhere said something about you. But you know what? When you look at yourself today, the perception you have about yourself is about what someone said about you. So because we don't get to the point where we define who we are, who am I? Is one of the questions I always ask my clients at the first session. This is the assignment. I want you to go and answer this question. Who is Margaret? And I always tell them, I want you to draw. And I see crooked images. I see people who can't even define themselves and put pen to paper. It's the content. So if we are going to unpack this suitcase, we need to find a way of managing this long-standing issues that we've been carrying with us. I can move from Kenya and go to the US, go to Canada, go to Australia and everywhere. But if I have not learned to travel light, it doesn't matter where I go. I'll still be the same Margaret. Give me everything. Put me in a high-end hotel. I am still Margaret because of what I am carrying. Then we have the container, which is the suitcase. What is this? What is the suitcase in our context? We are talking about the things that we do to avoid unpacking. We resort to avoidance. We resort to suppression. We don't want to face these things, the baggage that we are carrying. And so you always have this suitcase that you carry with you that is full of things, but you don't even want to open it because you're too scared to see what is in it. We want to deliberately avoid, and there is a way of, putting them in certain compartments in our lives, and you lock it there, and you don't ever want to open it. And as we cross over to 2026, this is my challenge for you. It's going to be a new year. Who is crossing over to 2026? It's new year, new you. New year, new me. What's new about me? Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together to hear this wealth of knowledge from him. Thank you. Oh, it's this David. Well, hello. We all just met him, and now we're meeting him again.
Jambo. In Kenya, we say "Hakuna Matata." If somebody tells you Jambo, you say Jambo, Hakuna Matata. Let me just briefly say something about PDM. PDM was established in 1963. It's been around for more than 6 decades. So for a company that has been around for 6 decades, then that speaks a lot. It is the longevity is a testament to the professional and the things that they do. PDM is an end-to-end property consultancy firm. They deal from when you start looking for your property, for your land. They also do construction management. We've done development. The building that you can see there is part of PDM buildings, one of the first high-rise buildings in Nairobi, CBD. It's called the IPS building. Yeah. Yes, the CBD. Let me just do a quick survey for Kenyans like me who, if you own a property, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. People who have come to visit us, if you own a property, from where you're coming from? I can see we are in a safe hands. So in Kenya, property, they say, is very emotive. The first time when you get employed, I think what everybody wants to do is to own a plot of their own, to own a property. So it's something that we really aspire to. And today we just want to look at how do we, after owning that property, and do we preserve it for generations to come. I know most of us own, then when you leave it, maybe the property is mismanaged or is sold. So we want to preserve that property from when you own it, you leave it to generations. It becomes a generational or legacy property. So there's been a question on whether owning property in Kenya makes financial sense. It's not an emotional investment. It's a number-based investment. So what matters is the evidence and the long-term capital appreciation and the still rental demand. There must be a reason why you would want to own that property. It's not for people to be saying this property belongs to so-and-so. It's for you to be able to get that certainty in terms of the revenue, the income. Predictability of the income is very key. This is underpinned by the management. So you have to get a good steward to be able to look at your property. So owning the property is one thing, and having that property managed by another person or professional manager is another thing. So statistics have shown that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics has shown that land values in Kenya or key urban settlers have recorded double-digit appreciation for the last 8 years. In Nairobi, satellite towns, people who know Kikuyu, Kitengela, Syokimau, those areas that started and a plot was going for around maybe less than $1 million. Now they are going for almost 5 million or so. So there's a marked appreciation on that regard. So why real estate and why Kenya and why now? In Kenya, land transcends real estate. It's a living legacy, as I mentioned earlier, on an enduring symbol of identity, security, and continuity. Through inheritance, I know most of us might have inherited properties from our parents. Land binds families to their heritage and provides a foundation upon which future generations build wealth and opportunity. Kenya now stands at a unique crossroads in this regard. For international investors like most of us that are seeking a long-term generational wealth, Kenya offers more than short-term yield. It offers an opportunity to participate in the shaping of cities, shaping of the cities, communities, and enduring assets. The conversation is not about speculation, it's about strategic ownership, stewardship, and legacy building. So most of us here are not here to just speculate, they are here to build a legacy, to do something that will last generations, that they will be able to live to their children and their children's children. So we just want to go through the land to legacy. How do we understand this? There's the financial aspect and the legal planning aspect, which are very key. When you're dealing with land, you have to go through different professionals. We have the advocates in terms of the legal advice. We have the financials, the financial analyst who will be able to give you the numbers, the modeling, especially when you are purchasing a commercial property, which is backed by a rental income. You need to know whether that property will be able to sustain that kind of rent. What are you able to do to be able to maximize or optimize on the rent that that property is bringing in? The first thing is you start from the one goal. You must start from the right, having it right. If you don't get it right from the one goal, then you are destined for failure. So the first thing is to be able to consult the professionals. Start with a property expert to be able to tell you this property, this region, the properties are likely to appreciate. This region the properties are likely to give you better returns, because at the end of the day, what you're looking at is not the property per se, is the return that the property is able to generate. Then you're able to, the next thing is to go to your advocate, to your attorney, to be able to look at the documentation. In Kenya, land documentation is very key, because the moment you buy a property that is, the papers are not in good order, then you are just setting yourself for failure. Because what they are saying is before you do the due diligence, you have to go to the root of the title. Because a bad title cannot give a good title. If you acquired, the property was acquired fraudulently, illegally, then you are not able to, even if you have that property for 5 years, then that property might not be yours. So the other thing is when you might want to develop that property. So the first thing is also to look at what is more feasible to be developed in that property. So we also do property feasibility studies, market studies. We're able to advise you if you are doing a residential property, how many bedrooms will make sense in that location? How many units will be able to give you the right return? How many acres are you able to develop? What faces are you able to do? Instead of doing the whole project at once, what phases, how facing you can be able to undertake. So Kenya real estate market is driven by several structural fundamentals. The first one is urbanization and demographics. Rapid urban growth in Nairobi, satellite towns, and secondary cities. As I mentioned earlier, Nairobi now is becoming filled up. So people are moving to satellite, the neighboring counties. We have the Kiambu, we have the Kajiado, we have the Machakos. So those areas previously used to look very far, but now they are very near. With the developments of the bypasses, developments of the expressway, then those areas are becoming now the bedrooms of Nairobi. So we also look at the market segmentation opportunities. That is the key investments, which includes residential. So there are some that would want to invest in residential properties. Residential properties could be standalone properties, could be blocks of apartments, could be Airbnbs. You don't need to own. You can lease. Then you can be able to run it as a business, as an Airbnb. As I was talking to my colleague there, so this one, the advantage of leasing is it gives you flexibility. If for one reason or another, that specific location, the business for A and B changes, then you are able to relocate to another location without having to lock in your capital or your money to that location. So what investors must understand, while Kenya is opportunity rich, it's also process driven. Investors must take great consideration to the following. The land tenure system. As we are all aware, the foreigners can only own 99-year leases. We have two tenures in Kenya. We have the lease-owned, and then we have the free-owned. For foreigners, they are only allowed by law to own land as lease-owned, unless by special consideration, which is given by the president. Then we have the weak development control and project oversight. So especially in Nairobi, we have the zoning areas. So there are areas that are zoned for specific development. There are areas that are zoned for medium, for light, or high density development, where you can be able to do apartments. Areas that you are only allowed to do single dwelling units. Even the subdivision, there are areas that you cannot be able to subdivide the land below half an acre, but there are areas that you can be able to subdivide the land less than an acre, 15 by 100, which is around an eighth of an acre. So the zoning regulations are very key, because you don't want to go and buy land somewhere, then hoping to be able to put several apartments. Then because of the regulations, we are not able to achieve that. Because in your financial modeling, you have to model in a certain way that you want a number of apartments giving you this kind of rent to be able to make that financial decision. We also have poor tenant selection. For those people who would want to invest in residential properties and have tenants, I think the first thing is to start with the tenant selection. This was done basically by property managers like us. We are able to choose for you a tenant who will be able to not only maintain your property in good condition, but they also be able to pay your rent in time. So you don't have issues of calling them every time or taking legal actions with them. So the first key point is to have a good tenant. We have criteria for a checklist that we use to be able to select tenants. The other thing is the absence of professional property and asset managers. Some investors overlook these services. Some of them would want to leave them to their relatives to manage, but this is where most of us get it wrong. So you'd rather have a fee for the property to be run professionally and leaving it to your relatives who sometimes might be tempted to mismanage or even be not able to account for rent and the taxation. Because the professional property manager will be able to advise you on the rent, be able to collect rent for you, be able to file account for taxes for you, so that you're in good terms with the tax authority. The other thing is the long-term vision. There's a legacy investors think in decades, not cycles, balancing yield, growth, and succession. We are not looking to invest today and then you want to recoup your investment in 2 years. we are here for the long haul, and that's when we are able to make the returns and achieve that legacy. So let's also look at the governance, stewardship, and continuity. Generational wealth is preserved through clear ownership structures, which is very key. You have to set clear ownership structures when you are not there, when you are not able to manage that property or to have the hands-on management to that property or dealing with the property manager. So you have to have a clear ownership structure, transparent reporting and governance, professional oversight, independent of family dynamics, plan succession and exit strategies. In property, like any other investment, you have to also look at exit strategy. You see, by investing this kind of money in this property, what are my exit strategies? In case I want to exit, am I locked forever, or if I wanted to exit, what are the exit strategies that I have? So just to conclude, Kenya's real estate market offers investors a rare combination of growth potential, as I mentioned earlier. We have seen people recouping their investment in less than 10 years. If you get your investment well, you involve all the professionals in terms of modeling, tangible assets, income generation, long-term value preservation. Your property, you bought it at $10 million or so, then in 5 years it's valued at less than that. You want that property to be able to have appreciated. However, the transition from opportunity to legacy requires more than capital. It requires discipline. Discipline is very key in property, just like any other investment. So you have to be disciplined. You have to be able to adhere or observe the professional advice that is given. Local expertise, professional stewardship, and long-term mindset. So land becomes legacy not by chance, but by design. Just to conclude, generational wealth is not built by owning property, it's built by stewarding assets across time. I think with that I beg to conclude.
I have two particular things I reference here. Why Kenya, why the youth? How many of you have had Meg Whitman's speech about why Africa, why Kenya? How many of you have? Oh my God, please go and listen to it. She does a speech about why, and this was done, I think, a few years back, 2024, yes, last year. And she was talking to people about why to invest in Kenya. And I'll go through some of those points for you guys. And then she talked about first, why Africa, right? The bigger picture of the generation that is coming up, and then why Kenya. But now I've changed it. So we have already made a decision about Africa and Kenya, but now why the young people? Why should you put your energy behind 75% of the nation? When you look to the right and to the left, you find a young person. The second thing I reference, and it will be a discussion we have, is changing the African story. Chimamanda has done a TED talk about the danger of a one-sided story. The images you see of Kenyan youth is very one-sided. It's somebody mugging another person. And that's a story you see in Nairobi Half-Life. I mean, I love the movie. It is. But we have not seen creative works about Kenyan youth doing great things. We hear them as a passing by story. You hear about Wanjiro doing food for education, it passes by. When you do Mandamano, it stays for 3 weeks. Then something good, it passes by. And so we need to change the narrative of how we view our Kenyan youth. So I'll go to the next slide. I'm doing it in 3 spaces. 1, kwanza tujuane. Sema tujuane. We need to know each other. As you get to move in this nation, you need to know who the youth are. So there's one thing I like about Nokia, connecting people. We need to connect and know one another. So let us go to the next slide. 75% of Kenya's population are the youth. And the youth below 30 years. Not 35, 30 years. Secondly, we already have a mobile penetration of 99%. Remember, I'm talking about youth and innovation as well. Now, this is something that I want to point out. Kenya is East Africa's logistics, financial, economic, and technology hub.
So Africa has about 345 companies with about 1 billion revenue. 11 are in East Africa, 6 of those are in Kenya. Kenya is a leader in clean energy. I think this we've seen 90%. Now, in Kenya, we led VC funding, which is 20% of Africa's recorded total of the Big Four. So the Big Four is Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt. And it was the only country to grow in VC funding in the last year. All other countries dropped. We did about 537 million USD in funding last year, recorded. All other countries are below 350 million USD. So that's a gap of 200 million Kenya shilling, 200 million USD. And there is a focus towards Kenya and the innovations it's producing. Now, a number of those companies that got funded last year, and I'll mention some of them. One of them, I think, very good friend of ours, they're called Bupas. The co-founders are 30 and 31. Then there is Akira Chicks, which I think as at now, they've turned about 485 girls training them. Then there's Hilda Mora, and they've been able to raise 11.8 million USD. She runs Pesesha. I don't know how many of you have heard about it called Hilda Mora. Yes. Then there's, of course, Ken Njoroge, the Giants, who he's now valued at 10.8 billion Kenya shillings after his recent buyout. My point is, a lot of this funding that you're seeing, the 26% of Africa's total, is going to the youth. There's a new generation coming up of very innovative and great minds. The last one I'll actually mention, is there's a lady called Yvonne Kagondu, 29, and she has a whole blockchain company. Part of those guys who got funded last year. So there's so much happening in this scene that I do believe is part and parcel of the things you should consider. And when I finish my slides, I'll take you through some of the things I want you people to participate in, right? And there are very many spaces. I think Maria will tell you guys about a company called ASEC, and ASEC brings together all supporters and enablers of the ecosystem. And then, of course, something I'll mention here, 58% of all innovations disclosed were actually in manufacturing, agribusiness, and education. Innovation is not only silicon. Innovation in Kenya, we hear a lot about tech innovation and all those things, and we forget that there's also other areas. Actually, the biggest company funded last year was a solar company, not a tech company. FinTech came in second, solar took the biggest chunk of last year's funding. So let's go to the next slide. Now we know each other. You know a bit about what Kenya has to offer. You know a bit about who the youth are. Sasa, tubonge. Say tubonge. Tubonge. So tubonge means let's talk. So now, when you meet women, the two places you'll meet. You know, in our Kenyan setting, sadly, men and women don't sit when there are hot stories together. Our men go aside, and they sit that side alone, and then women stay one side. So when you find women like this, you see, in this setup, this is where all the village gossip shall spill. Who has married, who is leaving, whose son is doing what, and akina nani are not getting married, and who has done this. You know, the marriage conversation. Just as a caveat, I'll now forget when I was studying, because I got married at 31 actually. And when I turned 30, my mom came to me and said, "Hey, are you going to get married?" I told her, "You know, not yet. Until I find the right person, I will not." My mom just said, "I'm leaving you to the Lord." You know, it's like, Jesus, what people say of me. My child is not getting married. I said, I'll not get married. So this is where you find, when you find our mothers seated around in the kitchen one, or outside next to the jiko, you know the drama is brewing. Somebody has done something somewhere. Have you seen the man she's brought? How do you bring that person? He has dreadlocks. Jesus. His ears are pierced, my Lord. So now let's go to real talk. There are a lot of positive things we've mentioned about our nation, about the youth. But it's not all roses. It's not all. There are a few things that are becoming stumbling blocks, and that is where then I will finalize with. So we'll go to the next slide. One of the things is systemic and economic roadblocks. Capital only goes to We call them leapfroggers. And when you go to the Silicon Savala website, I think about 70% of startups founded had a white founder. So in Kenya, it has become a norm because the funding is very, sorry to say white, the funders. Then if you just add a white founder who says nothing, just put their name. Just put the name, put him there, say you're the COO, keep quiet. I will pitch, your work is to sit just pretty next to me, then you get the funding. So early people who have dreams and visions are not able to be funded. They have to struggle to go through it, and they have to struggle to do it. Let's change the story. Kenya is open for business. Kenya means business, and the youth mean business. The narrative that Kenya is not ready. I know, like, we're having a conversation today with people I've met, and she was saying, what people think of Africa is so different when you come here. And that's just the truth. When you come and live here for a bit and with the people and what they do, you're actually very impressed. Kenya has a lot to offer. We have a very hardworking youth who just don't have opportunities. There is something Kenya is doing right, even despite everything, and that's a story I would want told. Thank you very much.
That just gives us the oomph that we needed. Before we go to networking, just a couple of things. First is do not copy and paste. I love that one. We need solutions for Africa that are tailor-made for Africa. There's absolutely no use in bringing a system from somewhere else if it's not going to work here. Let me tell you one of my trigger phrases that triggers me, especially when people are, not to pick on real estate again, but some people say this when they're doing services like this, and they're like, oh, Western style housing. Who needs, you know what I mean? It's just a house, but that's their selling point, Western style housing. And I'm like, is that necessarily the best style? Is that, you know what I mean? And so sometimes we spend so much time looking, you know, beyond and admiring everything. And the grass is not greener. We have the solutions we need here. And I think that's the important thing about looking to the youth and dealing with the generational gap, being angel investors. We have that money. Who says we can't give $1,000 to, you know, because what were we gonna do with that $1,000? Let's be honest, some of you, like me, like I'm a reformed, used to, you know, buy too many shoes and bags, you know, but, you know, think outside the box of what we can do. Yes, we can do the real estate, and I say too, I'm Malawian. We believe in land, okay? You're not gonna change my mind on that. But I do believe in the next generation as well. And I also believe all this land and stuff I'm acquiring, guess what's gonna happen? My daughter's not gonna want it. You know what I mean? That's just the truth. Her vision, her goal, her dream is not the same as mine. And that was a realization I had to look at when I decided what I was bringing to Kenya. And my daughter was like, why are you bringing that? And I was like, but it's part of your inheritance. She's like, I don't want your pots. And I was like, you don't want, Le Creuset, madame. She's like, I'll cook off of anything. She'll change her mind one day. But, you know, these are some of the things that we can look at, learn from failures as well. Tracy, I'm going to be doing a soft skills masterclass for the youth. So, you know, we'll talk. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So think about this. Remember, you have knowledge to transfer. You can monetize that. That's an amazing way to make some income here. So thank you. I would like to thank all, before we go on to the next portion, I'd like to thank all of the masterclass speakers. Thank you. Please, let's do a round of applause. Thank you for taking the time to come to give us such good gems, such knowledge. I don't know, you know, sometimes when you're sitting here in the front, you're so nervous, you don't realize the impact you're having on people. We were all writing. You know, we were writing crazy. We all had our pieces of paper that we're all trying to figure out, you know, how to deal with. We were writing, we were listening, we were getting things, we were getting ideas. I know I certainly was, and I could see around me that they were. So thank you so much for bringing intention, deliberation, and real, just, you know, there's lack of a word, but here I have one for you to show for the Gen Zs. Thank you. Yes. So I'd like to thank you all for that. And then before we move forward to the next session, which is going to be networking, I would like to thank each and one of you. A round of applause to yourselves. Some of you didn't know anybody. You got up this morning with an open, curious heart, willing to learn more. That's huge. And I just want to thank you. And remember, this is just the beginning. Let me tell you something about Miss Wakesho here. This is just the beginning. We're going to see each other a lot more. She has a lot of stuff up her sleeve. So this is just the beginning. Don't feel like this is a one and done. And then, the letdown when you've had a good time and then you're like, but now we've got to go. No, just think of this is the beginning of lifelong celebration and party of things that we're going to be doing together for each other. And let's prepare that youth, and like she said, that really, I thought about it, about where does the direction go? Where does the energy go? And that's a big one. And we, instead of saying now, especially I work with a lot of people starting over again. And when you're over 50, these people who are, they're mourning their careers ending. They're mourning that identity. And they're saying, but what can I do? You can turn around and help pull up the next generation. So don't forget that you are walking encyclopedias. You are walking knowledge. Whatever it is you've done for 18 years, you are an expert. Please write the book. Even if you feel silly, get online. I'm not saying you have to TikTok dance, but just get online and do that. We go into our networking sessions. So I'd like to encourage you, as I said earlier, to go with curiosity. You've already seen the connections. So as you're going, start thinking, not just in terms of networking, not just what you can offer to someone, but also where you can create a solution. So I want us to think about networking this way. What is effective networking? It's an intentional practice of building and nurturing authentic value-based relationships. It's about authenticity over volume. Remember the days when they used to be like, you've got your business cards and you're just kind of giving them out like this. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's about creating a relationship, right? And then it's about mutual value creation. And finally, about community and collaboration. So that is all you'll hear from me for the day. But thank you all very much for coming with us on this journey. It's been amazing meeting and interacting with you. Thank you.
So very much. Thank you. An amazing job. Give her another round of applause. She really did a really good job. Right before we go into the networking, we did an historical launch of the JBE for 2026 with the endorsement of the Kenyan government. So we did get the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to endorse the Journey Back to Eden. So the Journey Back to Eden is a 3-year initiative. Like she said, we're gonna be seeing each other. It's a buildup, right? We're starting now, but by year 3, it should be about 3,000 of us here by the end of, or even more than 3,000. I want to go for 100,000 of us in the same room, networking, relationship building, and exchanging energy. But I want to show you guys the video of some of the other testimonies of our relocatees and just get some more information about the end goal for the Journey Back to Eden. Thank you.